Thank you, Kristen. Tonight we're getting answers after learning 3 Westfield firefighters have filed a lawsuit against the city of Westfield.
Western Mass News reporter Paris Dunford joins us now live in studio after reviewing the court documents. Paris.
Chris, Mary, 3 Westfield firefighters are suing the city of Westfield for retaliation. This after the 3 were fired in 2019, claiming it was a retaliation effort after they reported sexual abuse allegations about current fire chief Patrick Egloff. 3 Westfield firefighters are currently suing the city that employs them. According to court documents obtained by Western Mass News, Captain Rebecca Baton and firefighters Kyle Mittelmore and David Kennedy are suing the city based on retaliation allegations after they were fired in 2019. The 3 say they were fired for reporting sexual abuse allegations against then Deputy Fire Chief, now Westfield Fire Chief Patrick Egloff. Court documents state Egloff allegedly assaulted a Noble Hospital nurse after the St. Patrick's Day parade in 2016. The allegations came to light in January of 2018 when the 3 firefighters say they heard of the incident from other firefighters. Plaintiff Milton told a state trooper about what he had heard regarding Egloff, and a case was launched by the Massachusetts State Police. However, the attorney representing the 3 plaintiffs, Morris Cahalane, tells Western Mass News the investigation ended with no charges filed.
The 2 alleged victims decided that they didn't want to press charges or go forward with it. The city of Westfield then conducted their own investigation, and eventually that investigation blamed my clients, Captain Rebecca Baton, David Kennedy, and Kyle Miltimore, for to put it broadly, creating controversy and causing problems in the department by having told the state police what they knew.
And in December of 2019, the 3 firefighters were, quote, terminated because of violation of the rules, regulations, and operating procedures of the Westfield Fire Department, according to court documents.
Discrimination, retaliation, and wrongful termination, but it all really comes down to retaliation for having talked to the state police.
In February of 2020, the 3 firefighters filed this retaliation lawsuit and complaints with the state's Civil Service Commission and Department of Labor Relations. And the city was ultimately ordered to reinstate the firefighters in November of 2022. However, they have remained on administrative leave since.
They also ordered that before they were reinstated, they be put on administrative leave until the Westfield Fire Commission had conducted a new investigation and done training in the department and had disciplined the now chief, who ended up being promoted, for the assault that he admitted to. That hasn't happened.
Western Mass News reached out to the Westfield Law Department and we were told they have no comment. Mayor Michael McCabe was also not able to comment since he is a party in this case. Now, we've also reached out to Chief Egloff regarding the sexual assault claims, but we have not yet heard back. A jury trial is scheduled for this case on April 3rd at 9 a.m. in Hampden Superior Court. Reporting live in studio, Paris Dunford for Western Mass News.